How's it going? My name's Luke here with Academy FM, and today we're going to be going over using Isotope Insight to analyze your track and/or your master. So first things first, let's open it up and take a look at the default preset, what it's going to load to every time you open it. And the first thing that I always jump into is the options menu. And in the I/O settings, there's going to be an input and display format settings for basically how it's reading stereo information. And you're going to want to choose this middle option, and I can show you why right now. Basically, with the track playing, let's solo the top track. You can see in the sound field, it is just like not correct. So to fix that problem, you're going to want to go here and change it to the middle mode, SMPTE. And that's going to result in it changing to this. So then you can really see the whole stereo image, and there's phase meters, so it's just kind of the way you want to read things. Next, jumping more into how just Insight works in general, you're going to have all these different little modules, and you can minimize all of them at any time to just leave one, and then you can add them all back from right here. So levels is pretty much this, just going to be an LUFS meter, and then you can change a target loudness. So if you're trying to hit, say, a radio standard, or for streaming, few different streaming platforms have a little bit different of a algorithm that works for tracks if they're not as loud as they need to be, or if they're too loud. So it's good to know those things, so then when you're bouncing your track, it's not going to be distorted if it gets on Spotify and you're streaming it. So relating to that, you can adjust the target LUFS, and if you're in the target, it's going to be green. 24, I believe, is, or negative 24 is the default. And you can also have a dB target, which is pretty self-explanatory right there. After that, you can kind of see the spectrogram. That's going to give you just a general waveform of the song, and there's a ton of settings in here for basically the zoom on the spectrogram and the height, as well as how long the history is, and just like detail. You can even change the color if you want, but all sorts of things like that, just to kind of really fine tune it so you know exactly what you're seeing and looking at. After that, the sound field is basically a stereo image with a phase meter and showing you your left and right balance. Spectrum is very similar to any other spectrum analyzer, like your stock Logic or Ableton ones. I would say it's just probably a little bit more precise than those in-DAW ones. And then your loudness history is going to show you where your track is the whole time in reference to your target loudness. So as you can see, when that goes up, it turns green. And if we're above it, then it's showing we have an issue. So next, a great place to also look is in the presets. They have pretty simple, like, standardized presets based on what kind of medium you're looking for and what kind of things you want in it. But I typically find that the default layout works best for me, just because all the options are already in there, and that's everything I need to see. And now let's kind of jump into how I would use this. And it's pretty simple, honestly. So when I work on a track, that's the first thing that goes on my master chain, just because it's good to always be able to look, see where the volume is, make sure there's no phase issues, just kind of see loudness. And as the process of production goes on, I tend to just kind of go back every now and then, or every time a major change is made, even just every 15 minutes or so. And it's something that I almost do subconsciously now because I'm in the habit of it. But you can really catch any issues, and This is also great for individual elements rather than just the track. Say if you want to see what the stereo image of your drums are looking like, you can say take out everything but levels in the sound field. So it's going to give you a stereo image as well as where the drums are hitting. And I like this plugin because it's so versatile. As I mentioned, you can use it in the production stages on an individual track all the way up until the mastering process and getting that final song as loud as you need it to be. So, in that respect, what I would do is find a reference track that say I wanted my track to be as loud as, find the drop section, and let's just go back to the default setting and see how loud in LUFS it's looking during, say, this first few bars of the drop. Here we go. All right, so you can also pause any of the meters. So, like, that's a general rough estimate, and that was a pretty random time to press pause in the drop. And of course, you can see it fluctuating a little, but that's a pretty general idea of where we're trying to get the song if I'm referencing this for loudness and mix quality. So, then what you would do is bring up your target loudness to, I'm going to say, -4, just for good keeping and having it in between that 3 and 5 number. Anywhere around -4 will work for me. So then what I would do is typically this would be in my final project, not just a concealed audio track. So kind of pretend that this song one would be your whole mix, but I'm just kind of doing this for the sake of time to show you how it would work. And basically, once you have the meter that is on your master chain right there set with the loudness target of the reference track, you can see how your song is going to do in comparison. Oh. Okay, so perfect. That's right in. Obviously, it went a little bit over in the red. You can see went above the target of -4.1, but that's really kind of what I was looking for, right in the sweet spot around where the sudden death and AFK track was. And once you get that, you can kind of check more or less and adjust your mix for um, whatever kind of feel you're looking for in comparison to the reference. So, say you listen to the reference track, and this is kind of why I like it on default mode, but you notice that when it plays the Spectrum Analyzer's bass area just looks bigger than yours, and for some reason your track is a few LUFS lower. So the first step then I would take is like starting boosting in the bass, or say you notice your track just doesn't sound as wide as maybe some others and as spacey, then you could take a look and compare instantly with the sound field. And I think all these tools are very simple, but really come in handy in getting your mix precise and exactly where you want it, and just kind of knowing exactly what's going on within your project. I encourage playing around with the presets too and just kind of taking a look, seeing, because this isn't a plugin that can do anything to audio, it just analyzes it. It's a meter. So there's really no harm in playing around and just seeing what you like, which modes you like on and off, what do you really need to see to get the most out of this, and where you can apply it in your mix. So I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.